Alright people, it's that time of the year again. The time where some of the biggest publishers that bring Japanese games to the West get together and show us what they have in store. The new Game Plus Expo. I watched all 6 hours of it, and in this video I'm going to talk about the top 13 games that was shown in this expo that I'm personally most excited about, while also showing their gameplay or trailer footage in the background. If a game from the event is not included in this video, it means that it has already been released or it is simply not my kind of game. If you are new to the channel, my name is Rini and I cover Japanese and anime style games through reviews, guides and showcases. If you like what you see, help me out by hitting that like button and make sure to subscribe to the channel for more in the future. Now without further ado, let's get started. At number 13 we are going to start off with some honking. It doesn't matter if only 15 seconds of this game were shown in the introduction of the event, because that is all it needed to convince me. Mighty Goose brings us that classic run and gun shooter feel, but as you can see from the trailer alone, there is a ton of weapon and enemy variety here. The Goose also seems to have an enraged mode, like his head lights up in fire like he's Ghost Rider or something. All in all, I look forward to see what this game has to offer. I know this is not actually a Japanese game by the way, but Playism, who is known for bringing a lot of indie Japanese games to the West, showed this during the expo and it looked way too good to not mention. An exact release date is not known yet, but we can expect the Mighty Goose game in the second quarter of this year on the Switch, PlayStation 4, Xbox One and Steam. Next up we have Pocky and Rocky Reshrined, a remaster of the classic Pocky and Rocky game on the Super Nintendo back in 1992 when I was a total of 1 year old. While I never played this myself, I remember watching a let's play of this game over on the Game Grumps channel. I love playing shoot 'em up games from time to time. It doesn't have to be the most hardcore one out there. As long as the game is visually appealing and has some good variety, I am more than happy. And for what they've showed, this game definitely checks those boxes. I also have a newfound love for tanukis, so that also helps. This all started last year when my girlfriend unlocked a blueprint for a tanuki statue in Animal Crossing. When she was out of the house, I went through all of her clay reserves and covered her whole island with these majestic creatures. You should have seen her face when she got home. We're still together by the way, so it all worked out in the end, but hey, what I'm trying to say is that I can really appreciate Rocky's design. He is a tanuki and tanukis are life. Pocky and Rocky Reshrined will be released on the Nintendo Switch and PlayStation 4 this fall. Yomi wo Saku Hana. So this game was already released in Japan last year and is now making its way to the West. What immediately struck me in the trailer was the beautiful art style and the character design. These guys not only look badass, but they also make me wonder what the hell their backstory is. Yomi wo Saku Hana is a first-person dungeon crawler where you are part of a team that has been sent to investigate a massive and mysterious structure that rose from the ground. And as you can see from the trailer, this is not a happy place. The dungeons, enemies and music all give a very dark and eerie vibe, and I'm really curious to see what the story is going to be like. Yomi wo Saku Hana will be released in the fall of this year. On number 10 we have a new Neptunia game. Well, I say new, but it's actually a remake of a remake of a remake of the very first game. The Neptunia series can feel a bit daunting to get into when it boasts around 20 games that have been released in a span of only 10 years. But that also means that this game will be a good entry point for newcomers. And even for fans it seems to be a fresh experience, as the trailer shows that you can unlock 27 playable characters from the very start, whereas a lot of these characters were actually first introduced in some of the sequels. So because of that, I am guessing the main story will be told slightly differently. But aside from that, there are also a bunch of outfit and weapon customization options, and the combat system has improved a lot since the original game. It has been over 10 years since I've played the original game and I skipped the other remakes, so I'm really stoked to experience the original story again, even if it would be told slightly differently. If you like cute anime girls doing cute anime girl stuff and making a ton of gaming and anime related puns and references, this is definitely something you want to be on the lookout for. Neptunia Reverse will be released exclusively for the PlayStation 5 on June 8th. Next up we have another game developed by Compile Heart and published by Idea Factory, Mary Skelter Finale. This is the third and final game in the Mary Skelter series. These games are first-person dungeon crawlers in a dark setting with apparently quite a bit of fan service, although the trailer and the demo didn't really show much of that. The characters are inspired by fairy tales and folklore, and you can clearly see these inspirations in their names. The story is that you and your friends are stuck in an underground prison known as the jail, and you will need to find your way out. I guess you can describe it as a horrific prison break experience. The gameplay itself is typical as to that of a first-person dungeon crawler where you need to move one block at a time and need to traverse around traps, puzzles and monsters. And when you do engage with monsters, you fight them in a traditional turn-based style. Most of the playable characters of this game are called Blood Maidens, and their origin story is... well, let's just have Idea Factory explain this themselves.
So, the Blood Maidens, like I said, are they're born from, if a pregnant woman is consumed by the jail, what happens is eventually the host will become a Martian, but the baby becomes or stays intact.
Wow.
So what happens is the baby develops into a Blood Maiden and will actually emerge from the Martian and has all of these different powers.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Very family friendly.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I mean, if that doesn't leave you interested, I don't know what will. The game will also feature a before story that allows you to quickly catch up to everything that has happened in the first two games, and you also get to know the different characters a little better. This is perfect for someone like me that didn't get around to play the previous games, and you might be interested too because of this. Marriage Skeleton Finale will be released on the Nintendo Switch and PlayStation 4 in the fall of 2021. So Nippon Ichi Software came out of nowhere with the NIS Classics Collection Volume 1. And I guess Volume 1 implies that there will be more volumes to come, right? But anyway, this first volume includes two games, Phantom Brave and Soul Nomad. Just like Nippon Ichi Software's renowned Disgaea games, these are strategy RPGs in a similar style when it comes to storytelling and gameplay, and they will now be released on the Nintendo Switch for the very first time. I do hope the gameplay still holds up these days, since the Disgaea games have been kind of spoiling us with good quality and a lot of new gameplay mechanics over the years, but if it can bring over the same charm, I'm sure it'll be worth to play. Phantom Brave and Soul Nomad will be brought to us this summer for the Nintendo Switch. Guilty Gear Strive. I am not a big fan of 2D fighting games, but for some reason I really enjoy watching other people play these instead. If I was a big fan, however, I think this would be way higher up on the list because I know Arc System Works delivers great quality in their fighting games. In case you didn't know, these are the same people behind the BlazBlue series and the Dragon Ball FighterZ game. This new Guilty Gear was meant to release on April 9th of this year, but on March 4th Arc System Works posted a message on Twitter announcing a delay of this game to June 11th. During the expo they went into pretty big detail on the movesets for Thick Mama Ino and a great looking Anji. They also talked a bit about the delay and said they were really happy with all the feedback they received during the beta, and based on what they gathered they feel that they need to take a bit of extra time to give the fans a game of the quality that they think they deserve. I don't think you can be mad at that, especially after the recent Cyberpunk situation. Now, there was one thing I'm not sure if they were planning on telling us or not, but near the end of the stream the following thing was said.
So with that, I'm going to sign off. Thank you so much for joining us today, and we'll catch you hopefully in the next open beta.
So yeah, fans can be happy as there will probably be a new beta soon. Guilty Gear Strive is planned to be released on the PlayStation 4, PlayStation 5 and Steam on June 11th of this year. Nippon Ichi Software comes with a brand new original game called Poison Control. Here you play as either a male or a female protagonist whose body gets taken over by a girl called Poisonette. Together you set out into different spiritual realms to purge the corruption within these worlds and save the fallen souls. As with most Nippon Ichi Software games, I am already in love with the art style and music, but the gameplay looks like it can get old pretty fast. I mean, all we really see in the trailers is basic shooting and running over corrupted zones to purify them. But hey, it's too early to make a judgment call on this, so with great optimism I'm going to say that I am excited to see what this is going to be like. Oh, by the way, look at this. That's right, there is a giant Prinny in this game, so that's always a good thing. Poison Control will release on both the PlayStation 4 and the Nintendo Switch on the 13th of April in the US and a few days later in Europe, Australia and New Zealand. Goichi Suda, also known as Suda51, is a name that you've probably heard at least once in your life. Just like Yoko Taro, I kind of see him as a rock star that when his name is merely mentioned everyone wets their panties, and I am one of them. I love playing through normal heroes, Lollipop Chainsaw, Killer is Dead and even Shadows of the Damned. Not because they're great and deep gameplay, but mostly because of the wacky characters, crazy setting and humor. Now prior to these games they made Killer 7, which supposedly had a darker and more surreal story, and a couple of years before that they made the games The Silver Case and its sequel The 25th Ward. Both of these old titles are being remade under the name The Silver Case 2425, and they are described as crime thrillers that are played in a visual novel style where you solve puzzles to get to the truth. Visually the game looks really good, but it's hard to say something about a story-driven game without knowing the story. Seeing as I love his writing in the more recent games, I'm curious to experience some of his early work once this game hits the Nintendo Switch on July 6th of this year. At number 4 we have Samurai Warriors 5. Koei Tecmo was the biggest tease of this expo, to be honest. On the website and all the advertisements I saw a big Koei Tecmo logo hanging around. And because of that I really expected them to have at least 30 minutes of extra stream time where they showcase some of their upcoming games, or at least Samurai Warriors 5. But no, instead during the opening of the expo there was a total of 15 seconds of Samurai Warriors 5 footage. I still want to keep this game on the list though, because it really is one of the games that I'm most excited for this year. I've been a big fan of Musou games, including the Warrior series, for a long time. These are great games to play when you just need to blow off some steam and honestly not think too much. Single-handedly defeating giant armies has a certain feel to it, and while a lot of people don't share this sentiment, I actually think that the new art style they're going for with Samurai Warriors 5 looks great. I am not sure if it has a proper name, but it's like a Japanese ink-ish art style. The colors are a lot more vibrant too, which makes the special characters stand out even more. The only thing I don't like is that the roster of playable characters has been reduced to only 27. I mean, I get that if you give the game a complete makeover, it can be a lot of work to do this for all the playable characters, but I really hope that these characters that were cut out won't be added as paid DLC later, because that really wouldn't feel right. Anyhow, I'm really excited to see more of this game, and honestly we won't have to wait that long anymore, because this game is coming to the Nintendo Switch and the PlayStation 4 on July 27th. Azure Striker Gunvolt 3. So while I haven't played the earlier Azure Striker games, I only hear good things about the series from the people that have. Looking at it gave me some cool Mega Man vibes, which kind of makes sense after learning that Keiji Inafune is behind this game as well. This is a fast-paced 2D action game with platforming elements and difficult boss fights. At least I'm guessing the boss fights are difficult, because the action director died to them during the demo gameplay.
The very first boss we designed for GB3. Oh!
Ma!
Judging from what we have seen alone, I love the visuals, the background music, and most importantly for these types of games, the controls and movement seems really smooth and responsive. Whether it will actually feel that way remains to be seen, so I hope we'll get a demo sometime this year. For the full game however, we will need to wait a while until sometime in 2022. The creators of the Danganronpa and the Zero Escape series join forces and bring us a new and colorful game with World's End Club. So the trailers shown for this game are pretty... I guess the word I'm looking for is confusing. Because apparently you start off with the 12 main characters being trapped underwater in a game of fate, like you feel would be right given the track record of these developers, but then one character shouts, "The game is cancelled!" And the whole genre seems to change. It now becomes a 2D side-scroller in which you traverse through abandoned cities with monsters to get back to Tokyo. At this point I am not sure if this is all part of a bigger and darker plot, or if the developers were just messing around by teasing you with something you're familiar with and then giving you something else. But hey, I'm curious to see what this game has to offer. The character designs look amazing, and while it may not be as grim as Danganronpa, I am sure the narrative will be as engaging and interesting as we are used from them. The game is set to be released on the Nintendo Switch on May the 28th. So here's a little question for you all. What do you get when you take my channel name and replace the first two characters with a P? That's right dudes, you get the lovable Nippon Ichi Software mascot and the best character throughout all of the Disgaea games, a Prinny. Knowing this, it's no surprise that Disgaea 6 is a game that I'm looking forward to the most this year, and when I saw the director wear his everyday clothing and even dropping the words Disgaea 7, there was nothing that could ruin my day. So about the game, you play as Zed, a zombie that wants to take down the unstoppable god of destruction. Now in the Disgaea world you need to know that zombies are, aside from Prinnies, regarded as some of the weakest species. But Zed has something special up his sleeve, which is something called the Super Reincarnation. This is essentially a powerful spell that allows someone to live their life over and over again until their wish comes true. This is also the first Disgaea game that has 3D sprites, and while I was really worried about how these were going to look, it seems my worries were unnecessary. I mean, there is still a certain charm that the purely 2D sprites have, but I think they managed to translate this really well to the 3D models they were showing in the demo. Finally, one of the biggest changes is that Nippon Ichi Software wanted to make this game more accessible to play. Disgaea is kind of notorious for being a grindy game, and especially so for the post-game content. And to some people that can be off-putting. So what they've did with Disgaea 6 is that they have added a feature that you see in a lot of MOBA gacha games, which is auto battle. That way the game can grind for itself while you do something else. I am not sure what to think of this yet, because on one side I really don't have as much free time as I used to have when I played the older Disgaea games, but on the other hand it would also be a shame if you would just fly through all the post-game content super quickly. As with most things, it's too early to speak up about this now because it hasn't been released yet. I do plan to cover this game and some of the other games on the list in the future though, so make sure to subscribe if you do not want to miss those videos. So now you know what I am looking forward to, but I want to ask you all, which games on this list are you looking forward to the most, and which of these games would you like me to do a review on once they get released? Let me know in the comments down below and let's talk about it. And that is all that I have to share with you guys today, so as always I want to thank you all for watching, and until next time.